They say you never hear the bullet that kills you. But what if there was no bullet at all? No explosion, no flash of light, no warning. Just a computer virus that could spin 1,000 machines into catastrophic failure while their operators watched screens that lied, displaying perfect normalcy even as everything fell apart.
In June 2010, the world discovered something unprecedented. A 500 kilobyte worm that didn't just steal data or crash computers. It destroyed physical machinery. It was sophisticated beyond anything security experts had ever seen. It was surgical, targeted, deadly, and it had already been inside Iran's most sensitive nuclear facility for months, silently tearing apart their uranium enrichment program from within.
This is the story of Stuxnet, the weapon that fired no shots but forever changed the rules of warfare. A digital ghost that proved nations could now destroy enemy infrastructure without ever crossing a border, without declaring war, without the world even knowing until it was far too late.
Welcome to the age where code is deadlier than missiles, where programmers are warriors, and where the battlefield exists in the invisible realm of ones and zeros. This is the story of Operation Olympic Games, the most daring cyber sabotage operation in history.
The hunt for whoever unleashed this digital monster would expose a secret collaboration between two nations, reveal new frontiers of espionage, and open Pandora's box for a new kind of warfare that would change geopolitics forever. Buckle up, because this isn't science fiction. This happened, and it's still happening today. Natanz nuclear facility, Iran, early 2010. Something was wrong at Natanz. Deep beneath the desert sand in central Iran, in a facility built to withstand bunker buster bombs, thousands of centrifuges spun at supersonic speeds. These weren't ordinary machines. Each centrifuge was a marvel of precision engineering, spinning uranium hexafluoride gas at nearly 100,000 rotations per minute, faster than a jet engine. Their purpose was singular: to separate uranium-235 from uranium-238, enriching the material that could power reactors or build nuclear weapons. The facility was Iran's crown jewel, air-gapped from the internet, protected by layers of security, monitored by international inspectors. Nothing should have gone wrong. But the centrifuges were failing. Inspectors from the International Atomic Energy Agency began noticing an unusually high number of damaged centrifuges in 2010, with one inspector estimating that almost 2,000 were rendered inoperable. In a typical year, you might expect 800 failures at a facility of Natanz's scale. The enrichment process was brutal on the delicate machines. But this was different. The failure rate had skyrocketed. Centrifuges that should have lasted years were burning out in months, sometimes weeks. The Iranian technicians were baffled.
They checked the power systems, inspected the mechanical components, reviewed operator procedures. Everything appeared normal. The computers controlling the centrifuges showed perfect operating parameters: speed steady, temperature nominal, pressure within acceptable ranges. But the machines kept dying.
It was as if an invisible saboteur was inside the facility, methodically destroying Iran's nuclear ambitions one centrifuge at a time. The Iranian nuclear scientists couldn't see it. The IAEA inspectors couldn't detect it. Even the sophisticated monitoring systems showed nothing wrong. The truth was far more sinister than anyone imagined. Somewhere in Tehran, June 2010, Mahmoud's computer was having a bad day. And by bad day, he meant it was having a complete meltdown. The Iranian engineer stared at his screen as it flickered blue, crashed, rebooted, then crashed again. He tried everything: antivirus scans, system restores, even a fresh operating system installation. Nothing worked. The mysterious crashes continued, spreading to other computers in his office like a digital plague. An office in Iran experiencing mysterious reboots and blue screens of death prompted their security expert to contact a friend in Belarus named Sergey Ulasenin, who was working for the antivirus vendor Virus Blockada. Sergey Ulasenin was at a wedding reception when his phone rang. He almost didn't answer, but something in his friend's voice made him step outside into the cool evening air.
phone pressed to his ear as he tried to understand what was happening half a world away. What Mahmoud described didn't make sense. The crashes were too persistent, too aggressive. Fresh installations should have solved the problem. Unless... "Send me everything," Sergey said, his mind already racing. "Every log file, every error message. I need to see what we're dealing with."
For the next several hours, while wedding guests danced and celebrated, Sergey and his team at Virus Block Ada began dissecting the most sophisticated piece of malware they had ever encountered. The worm was first identified by the security company Virus Block Ada in mid-June 2010. What they found made their blood run cold. This wasn't some script kiddie's creation. This wasn't even sophisticated criminal malware. The code was unlike anything in their databases. It exploited not one, not two, but 4 previously unknown vulnerabilities in Windows, 4 zero-day exploits that should have been worth millions on the black market. One exploit was so dangerous, it could activate simply by displaying an icon on the screen. No clicks required, no user interaction needed. Just seeing the infected file was enough. The team worked through the night, reverse engineering the worm's code. The deeper they dug, the more disturbing it became. This malware had one clear target: Siemens Step 7 software, used to program industrial control systems that operate equipment, such as centrifuges. Suddenly, the puzzle pieces clicked into place. The mysterious centrifuge failures at Natanz, the aggressive spread through Iranian facilities. This wasn't a random virus. This was a weapon. Sergey picked up his phone with trembling hands. The security community needed to know. The world needed to know. Journalist Brian Krebs' his blog post on 15 July 2010 was the first widely read report on the worm. Within days, Stuxnet became the most talked about piece of malware in history. But the real questions were just beginning. Who created this digital weapon? How did it get inside Iran's nuclear facility? And most chilling of all, if this was what happened by accident when Stuxnet escaped into the wild, what had it already done at its intended target? The race to answer those questions would expose one of the most audacious intelligence operations ever conducted. The White House Situation Room, Washington, D.C., late 2007. President George W. Bush sat at the head of the conference table, staring at pieces of twisted metal spread across its polished surface. They looked like modern art, abstract sculptures of destruction. But these weren't art. They were the remains of a uranium enrichment centrifuge. There was a dramatic meeting in the White House Situation Room late in the Bush presidency, during which pieces of a destroyed test centrifuge were spread out on a conference table. The demonstration had been stunning. Intelligence officials had shown that it was actually possible to make code jump from the digital world into the physical one, turning software into a kinetic weapon. General James Cartwright, head of United States Strategic Command, stood near a display showing lines of sophisticated code. "Mr. President, what you're looking at is a new kind of weapon. No explosives, no missiles, just instructions that tell machines to destroy themselves." The room was filled with the nation's top intelligence officials, all grappling with the same impossible choice. Iran was racing toward nuclear weapons capability. Israel was threatening preemptive airstrikes. The entire Middle East teetered on the edge of a regional war that could engulf American forces already stretched thin in Iraq and Afghanistan. Traditional options were all bad. Economic sanctions weren't working fast enough. Diplomacy had stalled. Military strikes would kill civilians and potentially trigger retaliation against American troops and allies. But doing nothing meant accepting a nuclear-armed Iran. The Bush and Obama administrations believed that if Iran were on the verge of developing atomic weapons, Israel would launch airstrikes against Iranian nuclear facilities in a move that could have set off a regional war. This cyber weapon offered something different, a third option, a way to sabotage Iran's program without bombs, without boots on the ground, without the world even knowing until it was over. It was audacious,
unprecedented, dangerous. "How confident are we this can work?" Bush asked. The answer wasn't reassuring. No one had ever tried anything like this before. The technical challenges were immense. The risks of discovery were high. If it failed, Iran would know they were vulnerable and might accelerate their program. If it succeeded but was discovered, it could legitimize cyber attacks on American infrastructure. But the alternative was war. Bush made his decision. The operation would proceed. It needed a code name befitting its ambition. Operation Olympic Games was an unacknowledged campaign of sabotage by means of cyber disruption, directed at Iranian nuclear facilities by the United States and Israel, started under the administration of George W. Bush in 2006.
Tel Aviv, Israel, 2006. Thousands of miles away, in an unmarked building in Tel Aviv, Israel, cyber warfare elite were already at work. Unit 8200, Israel's Signals Intelligence Corps, had been tracking Iran's nuclear program for years. They had sources inside. They had technical intelligence. They knew things about Natanz that even the IAEA inspectors didn't. The Americans needed Israel's knowledge. Israel needed America's technological prowess and diplomatic cover. It was a partnership born of mutual necessity. Israel's involvement was important to the Americans because Israel had deep intelligence about operations at Natanz that would be vital to making the cyber attack a success. And American officials wanted to dissuade the Israelis from carrying out their own preemptive strike against Iranian nuclear facilities. The challenge was extraordinary. Iran's nuclear facilities were air-gapped, completely isolated from the internet. No network connection meant no way to remotely inject malware. The Natanz facility was buried underground, protected by concrete and steel, monitored by cameras and guards. How do you hack a system that isn't connected to anything? The answer would require human intelligence, patience, and a level of tradecraft that seemed impossible. They would need to identify companies that did business with Natanz. They would need to compromise those companies' systems. They would need to plant the malware on USB drives. They would need agents willing to carry those drives into one of the most secure facilities on Earth. And they would need to do all of this without Iran ever knowing. The teams began their work. American coders at the NSA wrote exploits that leveraged vulnerabilities no one else knew existed. Israeli intelligence officers cultivated sources and planned infiltration routes. Experts estimated that it took a team of 10 coders 2 to 3 years to create the worm in its final form. They called their creation the bug internally. The world would later know it as Stuxnet. In 2007, according to reports, an Iranian engineer recruited by Dutch intelligence planted the Stuxnet virus at the Natanz nuclear facility on behalf of the CIA and Israel's Mossad. The agent, later identified as Eric Van Saben, though his real identity remained murky, had one job: get a USB drive into Natanz, plug it into a computer connected to the industrial control systems, walk away. Simple. Except simple things get people killed in the world of espionage. The facility's security was intense. Multiple checkpoints, physical searches, background checks. Any mistake would mean interrogation, imprisonment, or worse. But the agent had been carefully prepared. His cover story bulletproof, his access legitimate. The USB drive looked ordinary, but it contained extraordinary power. Code that would spread silently through Windows networks, searching patiently for one specific target. Computers running Siemens Step 7 software, connected to centrifuge control systems. The drive was inserted, the malware transferred. The agent walked out, his mission complete. Inside the facility's control systems, Stuxnet woke up and began its hunt. For months, nothing seemed to happen. The virus spread slowly, carefully, copying itself to other computers while remaining dormant. It was learning the network, mapping the systems, waiting for its moment. Then it found what it was looking for. The worm's authors could spy on the industrial systems and even cause the fast-spinning centrifuges to tear themselves apart, unbeknownst to the human operators at the plant. The attack was brilliant in its simplicity. Stuxnet didn't shut down the centrifuges or crash the control systems. That would trigger immediate alarms. Instead, it made subtle changes to their operating speed, speeding them up, then slowing them down, stressing the delicate machinery beyond its design limits. And while the centrifuges vibrated themselves to pieces, Stuxnet fed fake data to the monitoring systems. The screen showed everything normal. The logs reported perfect operation. The operators had no idea anything was wrong until centrifuges started failing at alarming rates. But in 2010, something went horribly wrong with the operation. And when it did, the world's first digital weapon escaped into the wild, and nothing would ever be the same. January 2009, transition of power. The Oval Office had a new occupant. President Barack Obama inherited many things from his predecessor: 2 wars, an economic crisis, and a secret cyber weapon that was currently destroying Iranian centrifuges. Early in his presidency, Barack Obama expanded the cyber operation, authorizing its continuation even after the accidental spread beyond Iran in 2010. The operation was showing results. Intelligence estimates suggested that Iran's enrichment capacity had dropped significantly. The Israelis were being kept at bay, their jets remaining on the ground instead of striking Tehran. But Bush had given Obama a warning during their transition meetings. Continue this operation. It's the only thing preventing a war. Obama faced the same impossible calculus. The cyber attack was working, until suddenly it wasn't. Inside Natanz, the situation had become critical. By the time the worm was detected on Iranian computers, Stuxnet had already caused about 1/5 of Iran's centrifuges to break down. Nearly 1,000 machines worth millions of dollars were being hauled out of the underground facility, their delicate rotors warped, their components damaged beyond repair. The Iranian scientists were pulling their hair out. They'd brought in outside experts. They'd replaced entire cascades of centrifuges. Nothing stopped the failures. An engineer at the facility, his name lost to history, but his actions about to change everything, was troubleshooting a control system. His laptop was connected to the industrial network, running diagnostics on the Siemens software that managed the centrifuges. When his shift ended, he did what countless workers around the world do every day. He unplugged his laptop and took it home. The timing of the discovery has been attributed to the virus accidentally spreading beyond its intended target due to a programming error introduced in an update, which may have caused the worm to spread to an engineer's computer connected to the centrifuges. That engineer's laptop had Stuxnet on it. And when he connected to the internet at home, the worm's programming kicked in, but in a way the creators never intended. Stuxnet began replicating. Not carefully, not slowly, but aggressively. The update that was supposed to help the virus evade detection had a fatal flaw. It didn't recognize when it had left its intended environment. The worm thought it was still hunting for targets. Within weeks, Stuxnet had spread across Iran. Computers in Tehran, Isfahan, Shiraz, all becoming infected. Then it jumped international borders: Indonesia, India, Europe, even the United States. Stuxnet reportedly ruined almost 1/5 of Iran's nuclear centrifuges, infected over 200,000 computers, and caused 1,000 machines to physically degrade. Security researchers around the world began picking up strange network traffic. Antivirus companies started receiving suspicious file samples. The digital weapon that was supposed to remain hidden was now spreading across the globe like a wildfire.
The White House Situation Room, summer 2010. Mr. President, we have a problem. Obama looked up from his briefing papers at his national security team. The looks on their faces told him this wasn't a routine update.
Stuxnet has escaped. It's in the wild. Security researchers are analyzing it. They're reverse engineering the code. It's only a matter of time before they figure out what it was designed to do. The room fell silent. This was the nightmare scenario. Not just exposure of the operation, but proof, technical, irrefutable proof, that the United States had created a cyber weapon and deployed it against another nation's critical infrastructure. The diplomatic fallout could be catastrophic. Russia and China would cite it as justification for their own cyber programs. Iran would claim victim status at the United Nations. American infrastructure,
Power grids, water systems, financial networks could become fair game for retaliation.
What are our options? Obama asked. The answers were grim. They couldn't put the genie back in the bottle.
The code was out there. Skilled analysts were already dissecting it, publishing their findings online. Within months, maybe weeks, the full capabilities and targets of Stuxnet would be public knowledge. Someone spoke up. We could still achieve the mission objectives. The damage at Natanz is substantial. We estimate we've set their program back by at least 18 months. If we press forward, Obama cut him off. Continue the operation. But understand, when this goes public, there will be consequences. Prepare for that.
Ralph Langer was one of the world's leading experts on industrial control systems. His company specialized in securing SCADA systems, the computers that ran power plants, factories, and critical infrastructure worldwide. When his team got their hands on Stuxnet's code, Langer knew immediately this was something extraordinary. He'd spent decades in the field. He'd seen viruses, worms, and sophisticated malware. But this was art. Deadly art, but art nonetheless.
The precision was remarkable. Stuxnet specifically targeted certain models of programmable logic controllers manufactured by Siemens. It wasn't a shotgun blast at random targets. This was a sniper rifle aimed at one specific installation with surgical precision.
Langer began reverse engineering the attack logic. The more he uncovered, the more convinced he became of the truth. This wasn't criminals. This wasn't hacktivists. This level of sophistication, this depth of knowledge about centrifuge operations, this precision targeting, it could only be one thing. This is a nation-state attack, Langer told reporters, and the target is almost certainly Natanz.
The technical evidence was damning. The worm specifically looked for systems with exactly 984 centrifuges of a particular model, the exact configuration Iran used at Natanz. It manipulated their rotation speeds in ways that would cause maximum damage while evading detection. It was designed to work on equipment that only Iran possessed. Tehran, November 2010. On 29 November 2010, Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad stated for the first time that a computer virus had caused problems with the controller handling the centrifuges at its Natanz facilities. At a press conference, looking haggard and angry, Ahmadinejad finally admitted what security researchers had already figured out. They succeeded in creating problems for a limited number of our centrifuges with the software they had installed in electronic parts. It was a careful admission, playing down the damage while acknowledging the attack. But everyone knew the truth. Iran's nuclear program had been sabotaged, not with bombs, not with commandos, with code.
The question on everyone's lips: who did this? The suspects were obvious, but proving it would require someone to break the most classified secret in the American intelligence community. Washington, D.C., June 1st, 2012. David Sanger, the chief Washington correspondent for the New York Times, published an article that would send shockwaves through the intelligence community. The headline was explosive. Obama orders sped up wave of cyber attacks against Iran. The operation's existence and details were first publicly detailed in a June 1st, 2012 New York Times article by David Sanger, based on interviews with over a dozen current and former US, European, and Israeli officials.
Sanger had done what seemed impossible. He'd gotten multiple high-level sources to confirm the existence of Operation Olympic Games. The article laid it all out: the Bush administration's authorization, Obama's expansion of the program, the Israeli partnership, the sophisticated malware, the targeted sabotage of Natanz. For the first time, the public learned that the classified program was given the codename Operation Olympic Games and was begun under President George W. Bush and continued under President Obama.
The article painted a picture of a new kind of warfare. Presidents making life and death decisions, not about missiles and troops, but about lines of code. Intelligence agencies collaborating across borders to build weapons that existed only in the digital realm. Engineers at Fort Meade and Unit 8200 becoming the equivalent of weapons designers at Los Alamos.
The White House response was a masterclass in non-denial denial. No official confirmation, no official denial, just carefully worded statements about not commenting on alleged intelligence activities. But the cat was out of the bag, and it wasn't finished making mischief. Security firms around the world had been studying Stuxnet for nearly 2 years. Now, with confirmation of its origins and purpose, they published comprehensive analyses that read like a spy novel. The worm was a marvel of programming. It used 4 zero-day exploits, vulnerabilities that not even Microsoft knew existed. It used a stolen digital signature to install the rootkit. This meant Stuxnet could masquerade as legitimate software, bypassing security systems that should have stopped it cold.
The attack strategy was brilliant. First, spread through USB drives, the only way to bridge the air gap into isolated networks.
Second, search patiently for the specific Siemens software. Third, compromise the programmable logic controllers that directly controlled the centrifuges. Fourth, execute a man-in-the-middle attack, manipulating the centrifuges while feeding false data to operators.
But perhaps most impressive was what Stuxnet didn't do. Despite infecting over 200,000 computers worldwide, it caused virtually no damage outside its intended target. The code contained specific checks. If the system wasn't running the exact configuration found at Natanz, Stuxnet simply went dormant.
This wasn't a weapon designed to cause chaos. It was a precision instrument of sabotage.
While neither government has ever officially acknowledged developing Stuxnet, a 2011 video created to celebrate the retirement of Israeli Defense Forces head Gabi Ashkenazi listed Stuxnet as one of the successes under his watch. The video was quickly pulled from public view, but not before journalists had captured and disseminated it worldwide.
It was as close to an official admission as Israel would ever make. A winking acknowledgement that yes, we did this, and yes, we're proud of it. Israeli officials began speaking more openly about cyber warfare as a pillar of national defense. In interviews, former Mossad chief Meir Dagan would smile enigmatically when asked about Stuxnet, neither confirming nor denying, but making it clear that Israel possessed sophisticated cyber capabilities.
The message was deliberate. Israel had entered the cyber age, and its enemies should take note.
In 2019, another piece of the puzzle emerged. According to reports, an Iranian engineer recruited by Netherlands' AIVD intelligence agency, working at the behest of Israel and the CIA, inserted the Stuxnet virus with a USB flash drive at the Natanz facility. The agent's story was the stuff of spy novels, recruited years in advance, given genuine employment at companies that supplied Natanz, cultivated carefully until he had the access needed. Then, in a moment that must have been terrifying, he walked into one of the most secure facilities on Earth, carrying a USB drive loaded with malware. The Dutch mole gained access to Natanz sometime before the summer of 2007. His mission successful, he provided not just the initial infection vector, but also valuable intelligence about centrifuge operations that helped programmers fine-tune their weapon. Tragically, Dutch engineer Eric van Saben allegedly infiltrated the Natanz nuclear facility and died 2 weeks after the Stuxnet attack at age 36 in an apparent single-vehicle motorcycle accident in Dubai. Whether his death was truly an accident or something more sinister remains one of the operation's enduring mysteries. Iran never fully disclosed the extent of the damage, but intelligence estimates and IAEA reports painted a clear picture. According to the official internal estimate of the United States, Stuxnet delayed Iran's ability to reach weapons capability by at least a year and a half. At Natanz, up to 1,000 centrifuges out of 5,000 were eventually damaged by the virus. The financial cost ran into hundreds of millions of dollars. But more importantly, the psychological impact was devastating. Iran scientists couldn't trust their own computers. Their facility had been penetrated not by bombs or spies, but by invisible code that turned their machines against them. The operation had achieved its strategic objectives. Israel held off on airstrikes. Iran's nuclear program was set back significantly. The region avoided a potentially catastrophic war.
But at what cost? Because Stuxnet didn't just change the game, it rewrote the rules entirely, and not everyone was happy about the new playbook. Eugene Kaspersky, the founder of one of the world's largest cybersecurity firms, stood before a conference audience with a grim expression. His company had been instrumental in analyzing Stuxnet. Now he was sounding an alarm that few in the cybersecurity community wanted to hear.
"We've opened Pandora's box," Kaspersky declared. "What happens when other nations decide they want their own Stuxnets? What happens when criminals get their hands on this technology? What happens when terrorists learn they can cause physical destruction with a laptop?"
His warnings were prescient. According to Eugene Kaspersky, the worm also infected a nuclear power plant in Russia. Though the Russian facility remained safe due to air gapping, the message was clear. Stuxnet's techniques could be replicated, modified, and turned against anyone.
The cyber arms race had begun in earnest. Stuxnet wasn't alone for long. Security researchers began discovering related malware that shared code, techniques, and apparent origins with the Natanz attack.
First came Duku, discovered in 2011. Duku is a collection of computer malware that also exploited Windows zero-day vulnerabilities and is very similar to Stuxnet, also targeting nuclear entities in Iran. But where Stuxnet was a weapon, Duku was a spy, designed to steal documents and gather intelligence for future operations.
Then came Flame, revealed in 2012. This was espionage malware on steroids, capable of recording audio, screenshots, keyboard strokes, and network traffic. It had infected computers across the Middle East, vacuuming up sensitive data for years. The tools kept coming. Havex targeted primarily Western countries. Industrioir attacked Ukraine's power grid in 2016, leaving part of Kyiv without electrical power for an hour, and Triton targeted a petrochemical plant in Saudi Arabia. The genie was out of the bottle, and it was multiplying.
Iran hadn't been sitting idle while the West analyzed Stuxnet. The attack had been a humiliating blow to national pride and a wake-up call about cyber vulnerabilities. Tehran invested heavily in its own cyber capabilities, recruiting talented programmers and establishing cyber warfare units within the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. The retaliation came swiftly. Within months after casino mogul Sheldon Adelson publicly stated that the US should bomb Iran's nuclear power plants, Iranian operators carried out an attack on Adelson's company Sands Corp, which resulted in the company suffering substantial financial losses.
But Iran didn't stop there. In 2012 and 2013, a wave of cyber attacks struck American financial institutions, Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, overwhelming their systems with distributed denial of service attacks. While Iran never officially claimed responsibility, cybersecurity experts widely attributed the attacks to Iranian hackers. Then came the coup de grace, the 2012 attack on Saudi Aramco, Saudi Arabia's state oil company. The Shamoon virus wiped data from 30,000 computers, replacing files with an image of a burning American flag. It was one of the most destructive cyber attacks in history, and a message that Iran had developed teeth. The cyber conflict that Stuxnet sparked was no longer one-sided. The proliferation problem. The scariest aspect of Stuxnet wasn't what it did, but what it taught. Every intelligence agency in the world suddenly had a blueprint for cyber warfare. The code was out there, available for analysis. The techniques could be studied, replicated, improved. North Korea, watching closely, began developing its own cyber arsenal. In 2014, North Korean hackers would breach Sony Pictures in retaliation for a comedy film. In 2017, the WannaCry ransomware, widely attributed to North Korea, would lock up hundreds of thousands of computers worldwide, causing billions in damage. Russia, already sophisticated in cyber operations, accelerated its efforts. The 2015 and 2016 attacks on Ukraine's power grid demonstrated Russia's willingness to use cyber weapons against civilian infrastructure. The 2016 interference in the US presidential election showed how cyber operations could be used to influence democratic processes. China ramped up its cyber espionage and attack capabilities, stealing intellectual property on a massive scale while building tools to potentially cripple adversary infrastructure in a future conflict.
Even smaller nations and non-state actors got in the game. Modified versions of Stuxnet also target non-nuclear facilities. Terrorist groups, while lacking the sophistication for Stuxnet-level attacks, began experimenting with cyber weapons. The cybersecurity community wrestled with an uncomfortable truth. Stuxnet might have prevented one war, but it had started another. A shadowy, ongoing conflict fought in cyberspace with no clear rules of engagement, no Geneva Conventions, no way to distinguish between acceptable espionage and acts of war. Stuxnet raised questions that international law was woefully unprepared to answer. Was it an act of war? An act of sabotage? A legitimate covert operation? Where was the line between cyber espionage, which every nation engaged in, and cyber attack? If Stuxnet was legitimate, what prevented other nations from attacking American water treatment plants, or power grids, or hospital systems? What were the rules? Who decided them? The Obama administration had argued internally that Stuxnet was a proportional response to Iran's nuclear program, a precision tool that caused damage equivalent to a bombing raid, but without the civilian casualties. Critics countered that it set a dangerous precedent, legitimizing attacks on civilian infrastructure and opening the door to escalation.
Perhaps most troubling was the realization that attribution in cyberspace was incredibly difficult. When a cyber attack happened, how could you be certain who was responsible? What if someone used leaked NSA tools to frame another nation? What if a false flag operation triggered a real-world military response? These weren't theoretical concerns. In 2017, a group calling themselves the Shadow Brokers leaked NSA hacking tools online. Those tools were quickly weaponized by others, including the NotPetya malware that caused over $10 billion in damage worldwide. The weapons America and Israel created to stop Iran's nuclear program had become templates for a new form of warfare that threatened everyone. From a narrow tactical perspective, Operation Olympic Games succeeded brilliantly. It delayed Iran's nuclear program. It prevented Israeli airstrikes. It demonstrated that cyber weapons could achieve strategic objectives. Coming up next is another gripping true crime story you don't want to miss. Hit the subscribe button to stay notified when that drops.